What's going on, people? Let's talk about the butterfly effect, for lack of a better way to put that, right? Now, some of you out there may have seen that movie that happened in, like, what, 2002, 2003? Sometime, that was like 20 years ago. That's crazy. It's an older movie, right? Where basically, like, the thing is some minor thing happens, changes the dude's whole life, right? Which is normal, and it was called the butterfly effect, right? Which is something about how like a butterfly flaps its wings and like triggers some like windstorm or something. I don't know. I might not be saying that right, but whatever. It's a thing where like a small thing happens, big things happen because of it, or don't, right? So I was thinking about kind of that and just like life things, because it's a thing that happens, right, when you're driving to work or whatever. So here's the situation, right? When I was younger, I was like super into drawing, like, pens, pencils, whatever, crayons, whatever I could use, whatever type of material I had to draw, and I was doing that often. And, like my family would always, oh, wow, you're doing so well, Tristan, right? And I was always like, you guys are just saying that because you're my family. But I did see some of the stuff like years later. I'm like, oh, I actually was pretty decent at this. You know what I'm saying? So that was the thing that I used to do, like a fair amount, for some years, right? Because I think that lasted up until like maybe 97, so about 15 years or so of my life, right? Well, I guess I wasn't born drawing, but you know what I'm getting at. It was a while. Just take that from that. So either way, right? When I was, let's see, back in like 96 or whatever, like at that point I was still kind of doing it a fair amount, and I was getting into like the whole computer thing, because I was like, oh, well, this is kind of cool. The internet's happening. It's taking the world by storm. You got AOL keywords and stuff like that going on, right? Remember? That was the whole thing. But either way, so I was kind of not shifting away, but like adding on to like my drawing and art making stuff by doing computer art, right? So a lot of it was like done in paint and whatnot because I didn't have access to anything. And so back then, probably still, you could zoom in, put the little grid on there, and when I needed to get the details in there, I was going like pixel by pixel, making some pretty decent pictures and stuff, right? Mostly from Warcraft 1 or 2 or 3, whichever one I was playing at the time. I was big on all three of them. But either way, so I was doing that whole thing. It was going pretty well. I'd make some other stuff once in a while, just kind of like being creative or whatever, because that was a thing that I could do back then, right? Creativity is shifted nowadays. But either way, so I'm doing that, having a good time doing it, and then like the computer crashes. I mean, it didn't just crash, obviously, like it was very much my fault. But either way, the computer crashes, and that's kind of like, oh my god, what happened, that sort of feeling. And so we get it fixed, and I'm thinking, okay, cool, I'll like log back in and start doing all my stuff again. And then no, that was not the case. All the stuff was gone. And I was like, man, the heck with this. Who wants to draw anyway, And it was like that moment right there where I just kind of like started shifting away, because I don't know what else was going on, but like in that moment I was just like, you know what, whatever. And so I was on the computer a lot, not doing the art so much anymore, but now I'm mostly like learning HTML and how to write up all this stuff, reading through various sources to like find how to do new things, and just learning about computers in general. It was just a whole thing that just kind of like really grabbed my attention, And so then later on, fast forwarding many years, that's what I do. That's what keeps the bills paid, keeps the lights on around here and all that stuff, right? That's me. But the thing that I was thinking about was like, if that hadn't happened, there's a good possibility, right? As people often do, you always think about how things could have gone if they'd gone a different way. Just think about it, if I had stuck with that route and just gone through, who knows, like, what might have happened. Because even still to this day, right, like, obviously, like, the computer thing, I was good at it. It just came naturally. So if I had stuck with doing the art thing in that way, I'm sure I would have been pretty good at like staying up to date on like the digital media and all that stuff as far as creating and all that, right? And so I probably would have just written that out. And I was big into like the comics. I had just kind of got into wrestling and stuff. So I would imagine, just guessing or whatever, that if some luck was on my side, maybe I would have fallen into like, comic designing or some sort, or like illustrating whatever the case may have been, whichever area under that umbrella I like gravitated towards the most. Maybe I'd be designing some wrestling shirts and you see them on Pro Wrestling Tees or something right about now, you know? That's a possibility also. And it's also worth considering, would this channel be happening, right? If I was going that route, I don't know what it pays. This stuff that I do pays pretty decently, right? At least decently enough that I can do a YouTube channel on shoe reviews. That's not the cheapest of hobbies. But I don't know how that stuff goes. And especially like nowadays, like where people are kind of like gravitating more towards like AI type things and kind of like taking real people's jobs away or something. Not going to get into a whole rant about that, but it's a thing, right? So I'd be wondering, like, I'm wondering, like, what would life be looking like right now? It could very much not be okay, right? And even if I was making the money, like, that I, like, make now or something, there's still the possibility that I wouldn't be doing this because a lot of it came with, like, you know, where I was living, working, whatever. I was, like, focused on, like, staying in shape and stuff. And so because of that, that's what made me buy a pair of these, the Air Max 360. And that's what really kicked off the whole shoe thing, right? If I was one to not care about all that physical well-being, again, that's another layer to this whole thing possibly not happening. But yeah, I was just thinking about it, and I'm sure other people have their own takes on wherever their life could have gone. Like, you know, maybe they were going to be some big sports guy and then like something happened and now they're just like an accountant or something. I don't know, whatever. I don't know what people out there do that watch these videos for the most part. Actually I have no idea what anybody does, even the people that I talk to regularly. It's not that I don't care, it's just that I don't really care to ask people about their personal lives because it's not my business. But yeah, that was just like a thing that was on my mind, and I was like, you know what, maybe I'll sit down and talk about this at some point because, you know, like I said, I'd like to just sit down and throw some words out there, maybe get a little dialogue going with a people or two, with a person or two. I don't know what happened to my grammar in that moment. It was not good though. So it's like reading the comments that I see sometimes. Maybe we'll talk about that at some point because there's some trash in there, people. And there's some trash people in there too. It's often connected. It really is. But either way, something to think about. From me to you. Have a nice rest of your day or rest of your night, whatever it is, wherever you are. Good luck to you with whatever your life has going on. Hopefully it's going all right and may it continue to do so. Later, people. So one other thing that I didn't quite think about while I was doing this, because I guess I was in the mind, like I was really thinking about like drawing again, like starting that up. So either way, back when I was in high school, right? Late 90s, like into 2000, because I graduated in 2000. Backyard wrestling was a big thing, right? And I would assume anyone watching this and like knowing me would probably like be thinking like, did you do any of that? Maybe you could have become like some wrestler or something. I mean, I did do a lot of that, right? It was like backyard at work. You know, I worked at a grocery store. Like when it got dark, we'd go out back or we'd go to a friend's house, sometimes at the gym, right? Just kind of fill up the racquetball court with mats and stuff. So yeah, I was certainly doing a lot of that. I mean, in a way, like, I'm kind of glad that it didn't turn into like going and doing it professionally, because honestly, like as fun as that seems like it could have been, right? And I mean, I am fairly athletic, strangely. Like what I see of a lot of the people like later on in life or whatever, it's not looking good, right? As far as like mobility and such goes. So it would have been cool, right? Would have been far-fetched. But at the same time, like if I could pick and choose, like, I don't know, man. It'd be one to think about for sure.